On the broadcast tonight, miracle on the Hudson. The latest tonight on the last moments of Flight 1549 and just how close it came to disaster. The emergency landing in the frigid waters of the Hudson River in New York. Tonight, the stories of survivors, the first responders, the investigation, and making a difference, the remarkable pilot who turned out to be exactly the right person for the job. Also on the broadcast tonight, the bottom line, serious ongoing trouble for the nation's big banks as the economy continues to unravel. You might be surprised at what else you now own. And remembering an American icon who unforgettably saw things his way. Nightly News begins now.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams.
Good evening. Over the past 24 hours, it's become very clear just how close we came to a disaster. Tonight, the soaked shell of a commercial jetliner remains tied up like a rowboat just off Lower Manhattan. And the people who were on that plane, U.S. Airways Flight 1549, are now going on with their lives after the scare of their lives. Heroes have emerged, lessons have been learned, but mostly people are amazed and grateful and calling it a miracle. Our coverage on this night after begins with NBC's Tom Costello. Tom, good evening.
Hi, Brian. It is bitter and below zero out here, and that's one reason why they have not removed the plane. You can see the wing is still sticking out of the water. They hope to bring it out sometime tomorrow. Investigators today were talking to the flight attendants on board. Meanwhile, police, rescuers, fellow pilots are all hailing the work of this pilot and co-pilot, bringing this plane in safely and getting everybody off alive. Tied to the pier off New York's Battery Park, U.S. Airways Flight 1549. Partially submerged in the shallows of the Hudson River, only its left wing and tail visible. The cockpit voice and flight data recorder still underwater, both engines torn off and in the river, where divers hope to recover them.
If in fact there was any kind of damage as a result of birds being ingested, my understanding is that will show up. The forensics will help tell us that. So it's a very important piece of the puzzle.
Also today, new still photos of the plane's final moments of flight as it hugged the Hudson River between New York and New Jersey. Within seconds of departing from LaGuardia, Captain Chesley Sullenberger reported a double bird strike and engine failure. Without power to fly and thrust reversers to slow down, colleagues say he must have known he had few options.
Captain Sullenberger is looking to return back to LaGuardia, recognizes he has a problem. Various warning systems in the airplane are going off.
John Cox, a retired A320 pilot for U.S. Airways, is a friend of Captain Sullenberger's and has flown that exact plane that went down yesterday. Sullenberger's challenge, says Cox, was to slow the A320 down and land gently on the water to keep it from breaking up and immediately sinking into the icy Hudson River.
He could get very close to the water and then fly just above the water and let the airplane decelerate. That's going to make sure that he hits the water at a very shallow angle, that he's got the engines up, the nose up, that he hits actually near the tail first.
This photo captures the plane as it skidded across the river, a plume of water shooting into the air as the tail gently touches down first.
It was an absolutely great piece of airmanship.
Today, the first 911 calls.
911, operator 130, what's the emergency? There's a plane on the Hudson that looked like it was crashing. A big jet was going down into the Hudson and then pulled back up. And I'm telling you, this plane was way too low.
And FDNY radio traffic. While in California, Captain Sullenberger's wife said she had talked to him by phone.
He's feeling better today. He's, he's a pilot. He's very controlled and very professional. And we haven't actually talked a lot, but we're very proud of him.
A textbook emergency landing that will likely be studied and analyzed for years to come. And in fact, the NTSB hopes to talk to Captain Sullenberger and the first officer tomorrow. Brian?
Tom Costello in bitter cold Lower Manhattan for us tonight. Tom, thanks. It was the governor of New York who called what happened yesterday the miracle on the Hudson. He was talking about the water landing. Getting to those people, the rescue by the volunteers and first responders was nothing short of magnificent. That part of the story tonight from NBC's Mike Taibbi.
The first image from a Coast Guard camera at 3:34 p.m. The plane in the water just over 7 minutes after takeoff, no boats alongside. Witnesses had seen the plane descending over the Hudson and drop into a water landing at more than 140 miles an hour.
The impact hitting the water was just, the most tremendous impact you could imagine.
But it was impact you could imagine and also live to talk about, because in the next Coast Guard image, a scant 2 minutes after the first, help arrives. The passengers have scrambled out of the sinking plane.
Kind of go over the seat, fall in the water, and go over the seat, fall in the water. But anyway, I got to the right wing.
And the first of 14 boats dispatched by the local ferry company, the crew supplemented by any and all available hands, begins the rescue operation. 56 passengers in that first boat, said Captain Vincent Lombardi.
They were asking us to help them. They were cold.
And when deckhands like 62-year-old Cosmo Mazzina saw what they were dealing with,
and I saw a plane floating right on that particular side, right there. I said, "Only cow, men overboard."
They rigged and used those rescue ladders the way they were trained to do it. 142 souls rescued by the ferry crews, including the last man who stepped to safety on Captain Carl Lucas's boat, a man carrying a clipboard with the names of all his passengers and crew, pilot Sully Sullenberger.
He said that he himself had gone down the aisle to the back of the plane twice, and he was pretty sure that everybody had got out of the airplane.
One crucially important piece of good luck to match the pilot's skill: if a plane without power had to come down in the middle of the river, then it came down in this precise spot, one of the truly busy patches in the middle of the Hudson in winter. A couple of miles up or down the river, and it would have taken those ferries 10 minutes to reach the sinking plane when seconds counted. But the ferries were right there. Rescue divers jumped in to pull 2 women from the water, one almost lost.
She was very lethargic. She wasn't too familiar with her surroundings, and so we knew we needed to get her out of the water as quick as possible.
And Coast Guard and police boats rescued the remaining 13 passengers. And while most of the rescuers said it's not about heroism,
I don't consider myself being a hero because it's my job. We train for it.
Cosmo had it right. People are going to call you a hero. Do you think
we are all hero? All the deckhands, all the people that saved their life, the whole hero.
In fact, there's already talk about a Canyon of Heroes parade. New York has done that on rare occasions, this one for John Glenn in '62. If so, it's a good thing this time it's a big canyon. There are a lot of heroes to fill it.
Okay,
Mike Taibbi, NBC News, New York.
Okay.
Later in the broadcast, our Friday night Making a Difference segment is tonight devoted to the man who really did make a difference yesterday, the man they call Sully, the captain of Flight 1549. Initial reports, as you know, indicate it was Canada geese that flew into the jet engines, and that would do it. They're big birds. When you think about it, our planes share their airspace, sometimes, though, with disastrous results. More from NBC's Ann Thompson.
Today at LaGuardia Airport, a bird's-eye view of the suspected culprits, Canada geese that call New York home all year round.
What makes LaGuardia so attractive to geese?
Well, the fact that we have a big open water body here.
Don Rippey is a member of the Bird Hazard Task Force, a group of government officials and environmentalists working to reduce bird strikes at New York's airports, which are surrounded by marshes and ocean.
At Kennedy Airport, they actually use falcons, trained falcons to keep them off the runways.
Canada geese, a federally protected species, are a particular problem.
And their numbers are growing. In 1990, there were 1 million Canada geese in the U.S. Today, there are nearly 4 million.
A success story for environmental protection, but a deadly threat to aircraft. In 1995, a flock of Canada geese struck an Air Force plane in Alaska, killing 24. Over a 17-year period, 1,109 reported strikes on civilian planes involved Canada geese, costing an estimated $47.4 million.
We've got more airplanes in the sky, and we've got more birds in the sky, and the birds that we have in the sky are larger species.
A 10-pound Canada goose hits a plane taking off like a 1,000-pound weight. University of Dayton researchers are testing new materials to help planes survive.
If it's big enough or there's multiple bird strikes, it can just totally destroy the engine, causing it to shut down.
Across the country, airports use a variety of methods to keep birds away. At Fort Myers, Florida, there are dogs. In Des Moines, Iowa, they fire guns. Efforts some think will gain new urgency after yesterday.
We'll look back on yesterday's crash as changing forever the way that aircraft will deal with the growing problems of bird strikes in this country.
To keep both man and bird, flying safely. Ann Thompson, NBC News, Queens, New York.
And a quick program note here. Tonight on NBC, Dateline will have much more on this story, this so-called miracle of the Hudson, tonight at 10/9 Central. Now, topping the news on the economy tonight, bankrupt electronics giant Circuit City is liquidating. They'll close its 500-plus remaining stores, sell off all their remaining merchandise, and let their 34,000-person workforce go. There were so many corporate layoffs today, more than 50,000 in all. The best we can do is list the biggest among them. GE Capital, owned by the parent of this network, firing a reported 7,500 to 11,000 people. Hertz Rental Car, 4,000. Pfizer cutting the sales force by 2,400. Also announcing job cuts today, WellPoint, ConocoPhillips, Advanced Micro Devices, Saks Fifth Avenue, Blue Cross, and Honda. The other big economic story this Friday night, the biggest banks in this country are on the brink of collapse yet again. Today, the federal government agreed to pour billions more taxpayer dollars into Bank of America, making all of us the company's biggest stakeholders, though nobody was asked, and raising new questions about how effective those massive financial bailouts really are. Our report from CNBC's Trish Regan.
In a desperate attempt to stabilize the country's increasingly fragile banking system, the U.S. government is once again on a spending spree, investing $20 billion in Bank of America, in addition to its original $25 billion investment, and promising to guarantee up to $118 billion more in potential losses, as Bank of America struggles to absorb Merrill Lynch, which it purchased in haste after the collapse of Lehman Brothers last September. The government is already on the hook for more than $300 billion of potential losses at Citigroup after investing $45 billion in the banking giant, which today announced plans to realign and downsize its business. It's a lot of money, taxpayers' money. But Warren Buffett, speaking with Tom Brokaw for this Sunday's Dateline, says it's money that has to be spent.
I think what's been done has been necessary. I mean, if your financial system becomes totally dysfunctional, everything else becomes dysfunctional in the country.
Today, Bank of America said it lost nearly $1.8 billion in the final 3 months of the year. And that number doesn't even include the $15 billion in losses tied to its acquisition of Merrill Lynch. Meantime, Citi reported more than $8 billion in losses. As more Americans lose their jobs and real estate values continue to plummet, credit card delinquencies and foreclosures are on the rise.
We started borrowing money like drunken sailors. Guess what? If they got problems, so does the bank that has the loan.
And now, so does the American taxpayer, given the amount of money at stake.
We're now running into the trillions of dollars behind the banking system, so it had better work.
Because if not, many fear there will be fewer Bank of Americas and more banks owned by America. Trish Regan, CNBC, New York.
Wall Street ended a down week on an up note. The Dow actually gained just under 69 points. When we continue here this Friday night, he's no longer a candidate. Barack Obama was campaigning today, however, and we'll tell you what for. And later, talk about making a difference. Tonight, the story of the pilot whose actions saved so many lives. Today, it looked for all the world as if the Obama campaign for president had never ended. He was campaigning today, but this time for an economic stimulus package he says is vital, even though Republicans, some of them, are skeptical. The president-elect is in Philadelphia tonight. He leaves tomorrow by train for Washington. NBC News White House correspondent Savannah Guthrie is with us from 30th Street Station in Philly. Savannah, good evening.
Good evening to you, Brian. This is where the road to the inauguration will officially begin tomorrow. He'll leave by train, make several stops along the way, and end up in Washington tomorrow night. But as you said, he took his show on the road today, visiting a manufacturing plant in Cleveland, near Cleveland, Ohio, to sell this big economic recovery plan. He's trying to build support out in the country because this may be a tough sell in Congress. Obama has said he wants this plan to pass with bipartisan support, but Republicans are very skeptical. They think it's too big, too much spending on the wrong things that won't really stimulate the economy, and not enough tax relief. But Obama today again hit on that theme of urgency, saying if we don't act now, this recession could linger for years. I think we're going to see more of these campaign-style events, Brian, in the future.
Savannah Guthrie, 30th Street Station, Philadelphia. Savannah, thanks. And this program note, Barack Obama's incoming White House Chief of Staff, Rahm Emanuel, will be David Gregory's guest this Sunday morning on Meet the Press. When we come back this Friday night, the end of a great American life played out by a brushstroke. A dangerous Arctic air mass has a huge portion of this country shivering tonight. The Midwest is on day 5 of temperatures so low it hurts to breathe. Wind chills in Chicago close to 50 below. 6 deaths attributed to the cold so far, along with an untold number of accidents and dead car batteries. Inauguration planners are keeping a very close eye on the cold weather right now. And right now, the forecast for Tuesday in Washington, 30 degrees, chance of snow flurries. One of the most famous American artists of all time has died. Andrew Wyeth was best known for Christina's World, his 1948 painting depicting a disabled woman on a stark grassy hillside. His work showed us the minute detail of the spare and bare and often grim world of the rural American countryside from Maine to Pennsylvania, the plain existence of rural post-war America. Andrew Wyeth was in the middle of 3 generations of artists. He was reclusive and shy. 3 years ago, he granted a rare interview to NBC's Jamie Gangel.
Painting is a very personal thing. You may use objects that are real objects, but it finally becomes here, what's in there. It's what you carry to an object that counts.
While Andrew Wyeth was celebrated and honored throughout the world, it was also fashionable in the highbrow world of art to criticize his work. Some derided him as merely an illustrator and not an artist. But his millions of fans disagreed, and a good many critics, and felt passionately that Wyeth was indeed a great American painter. Andrew Wyeth died in his sleep at the age of 91. We're back in a moment with our Making a Difference report tonight about the man everyone is calling a hero.
Making a Difference, brought to you by GlaxoSmithKline. Today's medicines, tomorrow's miracles.
As modern American heroes go, he might have the most interesting name we've heard in a while, Chesley B. Sullenberger III. He probably thought he was in for an average flight, New York to Charlotte. That's a milk run for a veteran pilot like him. But then came a catastrophic midair failure. He went from piloting a commercial aircraft to bailing out of a water-going vessel as it filled up with water. He was, in the end, responsible for the lives of 154 other souls. They are all alive today because of him, because he made a difference. For the past 24 hours in the aviation business, it's been said over and over, if you've got to ditch a commercial aircraft in the Hudson River, this is the guy you want. The pilot who's now known to the nation by his nickname, Sully, even though we've yet to hear him utter a word. Today, we did hear from his family.
We'd just like to say that we are very grateful that everyone is off the airplane safely. And that was really what my husband asked to convey to everyone. He's a pilot's pilot, and he loves the art of the airplane.
As the plane filled with water, the captain walked the length of the cabin twice, making sure everyone was out before he got out. All the eyewitness accounts painted him as a cool customer.
I reached over to Captain Sully and just said, I just want you to know you saved my life and everyone's lives here, and thank you. You pulled off a miracle. And he was so humble, and he just sort of nodded and he said, you're welcome. And the co-pilot turned to the pilot in a wonderful moment and said, you know, Sully, no one's ever done a successful ditch, and you just pulled it off. Pretty amazing.
He's flown just about everything except for the space shuttle, a staggering 19,000 hours logged piloting jets over 40 years. He's also flown gliders, a skill that came in handy yesterday. He's an Air Force Academy graduate and flew the Vietnam-era F-4 fighter. He has 2 master's degrees, and of all things, he's taught his fellow pilots courses in leadership and decision-making. Yesterday, everyone learned from a master.
He was thinking in nanoseconds, but he made all the right choices at all the right times. And the most important, he was feeling that airplane in his hands. He might have been glancing at instruments, but I know that he was feeling the airplane. He picked his landing spot and he went for it.
By landing the jet, he threaded the needle, a snap decision to use the water as his runway in the middle of a concrete canyon. All those passengers are alive today because of a modest and capable man at the controls at the right time.
He's the man. He is absolutely the man. If you want to talk to a hero, get a hold of him, because that's the hero in this whole deal.
And one more thing, as all aviators will remind you, there are two folks up front in that cockpit, so a lot of the credit is shared in this case with U.S. Airways First Officer Jeffrey Skiles. It took that entire crew to bring out yesterday's result. That is our broadcast for this Friday night and for this week, and thank you, as always, for being with us. I'm Brian Williams. We will see you Monday night from Washington.